We're going to call roll again. We're going to call roll again, and if you would, say here or present loudly when I state your name. Brandy Abrams.
Here.
Jose Verona Garcia.
Here.
Dana Barker.
Here.
Rebecca Basham.
Here.
Dustin Bateman.
Here.
Brett Baxter.
Here.
Robert Bierbauer.
Here.
Kristen Berryhill.
Here.
Angelina Bingham. Mary Bolden.
Here.
Clarky Burks.
Here.
Brenda Bush.
Here.
Barry Bird.
Here.
Harry Carter.
Here.
Robert Carver.
Here.
Kelly Clemens.
Here.
Joseph Combs.
Here.
Mackenzie Coulter. Catherine Deal.
Here.
Jacob DeFevres.
Here.
Paola del Valle Reyes.
Here.
Alexis DeWitt. Cynthia Eberlin.
Here.
Brittany Feltner.
Here.
Joshua Ferguson.
Here.
Deborah Fields.
Here.
Virginia Flowers.
Here.
Stacy Ford.
Here.
Seth George.
Here.
Emily Gifford.
Here.
Morgan Gilbert.
Here.
Rachel Gilpin.
Here.
Robert Gould.
Here.
Kimberly Granger.
Here.
Cheryl Gregory.
Here.
Alexandria Hagerman. Bryce Hale.
Here.
Ryan Hamilton.
Here.
Kim Hammersley.
Here.
Bradley Hicks.
Here.
Baron Hogan.
Here.
Christy Honecker.
Here.
Molly Howard.
Here.
Matthew Irvin.
Here.
Thomas James.
Here.
David Jenkins.
Here.
Ethan Jenkins.
Here.
Stanley Jones.
Here.
Stephanie Kennedy.
Here.
James Kenny.
Here.
Aaron Kistler.
Here.
Felicia Lawrence.
Here.
Maria Lennox.
Here.
Van Leen.
Here.
John Logan.
Here.
Starlet Luttrell.
Here.
Mary Marshall.
Here.
Naomi May.
Here.
Philip Mayo.
Here.
Anthony McAdoo.
Here.
Leah McDaniel.
Here.
Rebecca McNulty.
Here.
Jennifer McWhorter.
Here.
Brian McCall.
Here.
Timothy Middleton.
Here.
Richard Mitchell.
Here.
Brian Montgomery.
Here.
Charles Moran.
Here.
Randall Mudd.
Here.
Maxie Napier.
Here.
Sarah Newport. Denise Ortiz.
Here.
Patricia Owens.
Here.
Verdell Page.
Here.
Deborah Parton.
Here.
Jennifer Paul.
Here.
Elsa Peters.
Here.
Thomas Pettis.
Here.
Mitchell Rickman.
Here.
Cameron Rain.
Here.
Micah Rigdon.
Here.
Dylan Roddy.
Here.
Adriana Rosasvaca.
Here.
Earl Rose Jr.
Here.
Alyssa Russell.
Here.
Michael Scattergood.
Here.
Ian Simitu.
Here.
Virginia Simpson.
Here.
Judy Smith.
Here.
Brianna Stahl. Janet Stickle,
Here.
Christopher Storath,
Here.
Benjamin Story,
Here.
Tracy Taylor,
Here.
Riley Thompson, Riley Thompson, Brian Vargas,
Here.
Daniel Wilson,
Here.
Jenny Wilson,
Here.
Danielle Wolf,
Here.
Patrick Wood,
Here.
and is there anyone whose name I did not call? Yes, ma'am.
Carla James Thompson
I'm sorry?
Bell. Carla Thompson Bell.
Bell? Thompson Bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had you marked, the other Thompson marked off and not you. Sorry about that. Yes, ma'am. We have you down.
Anybody else not hear their name called? All rise. Warren Circuit Court Division 1 is back in session with Honorable Judge Chris Coron presiding. Be seated, please.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name's Chris Coron. I'm the judge here in Warren Circuit Court, Division 1. We do have a trial this morning, as we talked about in jury orientation just a few minutes ago. So I'm going to call the case of 20 CI 80, Sherry Legrand versus Sville LLC. I'm going to ask first, is the defendant ready?
Yes, Judge.
All right, and if you'll introduce yourself and who's at council table with you.
Yes, my name is Jeremy Falk. I represent Sville LLC. At council table with me is Chris Hamlet and Susan Batten.
All right, thank you. And for the plaintiff, Sherry Legrand.
Yes, Your Honor. At our table is Ms. Sherry Legrand and Mr. John Ritter, and then I'm Justin May.
All right, thank you. This is a case we will be trying today. We've called the roll, have everyone present. The first process we're going to go through is we're going to call around 22 individuals. And the reason we call around 22 individuals, they'll go into these chairs up here. The attorneys are going to go through a process called voir dire, which loosely means translated to speak the truth or to see what they say. And this is a very important process during the trial where both sides are going to want to make sure that the jurors that hear the case know nothing about the case, have no preconceived notions or any biases, and not bias in the ugly sense, but bias in the sense that they have any connection to the case. The way I always put it years ago, before I was a judge, I was Commonwealth attorney here. I had 2 murder cases that I prosecuted. Both of them were about 5 months apart from each other. In one jury panel, my dad was in the jury panel. In the other jury panel, my mom was in the jury panel. What the odds of that are, I can't tell you. But if you were on trial for murder, you probably wouldn't want the prosecutor's mom or dad in your jury panel. Hopefully we won't have any connection that significant, but again, if you have a connection to anybody involved in the case, I ask you, if you're thinking, should I mention this, you shouldn't. Because we want to make sure that both parties have all the information they need in this case. If you have a connection to anybody involved, no matter how minute you might think it is, please bring it to the attention. But they're going to ask, both sides are going to ask you several questions here in just a little bit to make sure there's no such thing as a right juror or wrong juror for a case, but we want to make sure that you're an appropriate juror for that case. So with that, I'm going to ask Madam Clerk if you will call around 22.
Randy Abrams,
Come on up.
Yeah, and as the bailiffs are calling you up, they're going to have you sit in a specific seat. The reason for that is these attorneys are going to kind of track where you're sitting. That way they can keep track of who's who as they're going through it.
Dana Barker, Rebecca Basham, Justin Bateman, Robert Bear Goer, Clarky Burks, Mackenzie Coulter, Morgan Gilbert, Rachel Gilpin, Bradley Hicks, Matthew Irvin, Maria Lennox, Mary Marshall, Rebecca McNulty, Brian Montgomery, Denise Ortez, Jennifer Hall, Elsa Peters, Micah Rigdon, Earl Rose,
The 22. All right. Does anybody need a hearing assistance device? If there's anybody that does, please let us know. Anybody in this panel so far? All right. For the 22 of you all that are in the chairs or in the jury box, please make sure here in just a minute when these attorneys ask questions, you listen carefully. For those of you all that are out in the audience, you're not out of the woods yet, so don't relax too much. Make sure you continue to listen to what the attorney's questions are to the panel. The reason for that is for some reason, one of these jurors are excused. We will call one of your number to come forward, and that way it'll speed things up for both sides and for everybody. Generally what they'll do is say, were you able to listen to and hear all the questions I previously asked? Would you have had a response to any of those? They may have some more questions for you. So please pay attention during that time period while they're asking questions. That way you will, if you do get brought before the rail and into the jury panel, we will be able to speed things up with that question. Before we go any further, I do need to have everybody, both in front of the rail and behind it, please raise your right hand to be sworn. I have to give you an oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to give true answers to the questions which will be asked of you at this time by the court and counsel pertaining to your qualifications to serve as a juror in this case? You can answer by saying I do. Is there anybody that cannot take that oath or affirm that? Okay, seeing none, those are, you are duly sworn. This again is a civil case. This is in regards to an incident that occurred that the attorney's going to tell you a little bit more about in just a little bit. Again, we will have both sides ask questions. One thing I do need to ask, the 22 of you all that are in the before the court right now, has anybody been excused from jury service either for tomorrow or Friday? We expect this case will be done by Friday at the latest. Is there anybody that has been excused or you know has an unresolvable conflict starting today through Friday? And kind of tell you what the schedule goes. We're going to go up till about noon, maybe a little bit after. We will take a lunch break. Then we'll come back after lunch and go till at least 4:30. And that'll be the schedule tomorrow. We'll come back at 9. Is there anybody that has a conflict with that? All right. Seeing none, counsel, you may ask.
Thank you. Give me 1 second to get set up, Judge.
Absolutely.
everybody. My name's Justin, okay? I represent Ms. Sherry Legrand, and John Ritter's at the table with me, okay? First question, it's super easy. Does anybody know any of us? So John grew up here, graduated high school from here, so make sure y'all don't know him. I'm from Eastern Kentucky, out in Fleming County, so I don't think you guys can know me, all right? But the shorter-ish mountains. Anyway, and then that's Sherry Legrand, born and raised here, lived here her whole life. Anybody know our client? It's very important. We don't want anyone. Okay, just making sure. Okay, thank you for that. Now, like the judge said, you know, this is the only time we get to talk to you and you get to talk to us, okay? And we don't want people on the jury that, you know, I'd love a jury of like my college roommates, right? And my wife and my kids. And Jeremy would want the same for him, plus my ex-girlfriends, okay? So, I'm just saying, we want to make sure everybody's going to be fair, okay? And that we have a good, fair jury. So, I'm going to start with this. Has anybody served on a jury before? Okay, so we got a bunch. Wow, that's more than I usually get. Okay, so I'm going to start right here with, what's your name, ma'am?
Elsa Peters.
Elsa Peters? Okay, so tell me about that. We'll just start, when was it? Just tell me about
It
that.
was like 5 years ago.
Okay. Were you the foreperson?
No,
No? Okay. And was it a criminal or civil case?
it was civil.
Okay, civil case, what kind? A car wreck?
It was like a, I guess a tort case, it was an estate issue.
What was it? I'm sorry.
An estate issue.
An estate issue. Okay, okay. Anything about that experience make it where you don't want to be on a jury or kind of have negative views towards it?
No.
Besides being here with us, I understand. Okay, thank you for your response, ma'am. All right, I think I had, what's your name?
Morgan.
Morgan? Okay, Morgan, can you tell me about that?
It's 2011, I think, and it was civil.
Civil? Okay, and what kind of civil case was it?
It was 18-year-olds with disabilities who their rights were given to their parents.
Okay, so it's more of a, you know, custody kind of case. It wasn't a car wreck, slip and fall, anything like that? No? Okay. Anything about that experience, would that make you feel one way or another about being on this jury? Okay. And were you the foreperson?
For one of them.
For one, oh, you were on two.
3 or 4.
Oh, you've been on 3 or 4 juries? Wow, okay, you're experienced. Okay. Well, I mean, most people are, so frankly. Okay, so Morgan, were all of them civil cases?
They were all the same thing.
They were all the same thing. Oh, wow, okay. So you're like an expert in that. You know more than me, that's for sure. So, did any of those, I'm guessing, did not, that didn't make it where you don't want to be on a jury again or sway you one way or another? Is that a no?
No.
You got it for the record.
Yeah,
You got it.
sorry.
You know, you're fine. Okay, ma'am, what's your name?
Rachel.
Rachel? Okay, Rachel, tell me about your jury trial, or
It
jury
was
experience.
one of the first cases tried after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an assault and burglary case.
Okay, so it's a criminal case?
Yes.
Okay, were you the foreperson? No. Okay, and anything about that experience make you uncomfortable being on a jury again?
No.
And again, this is a civil case, this is a criminal case, okay? And who else had been on a jury before? Okay,
I
ma'am?
was on the grand jury.
Oh, you're on the grand jury, okay, so have you ever served in an actual?
No.
Okay, okay. I'm not gonna ask you about that,
That's
because those are
that's
private
perfectly fine.
proceedings, okay? But thank you for being so honest, I appreciate it.
Martin, I was on a grand jury.
You're on the grand jury too? Okay, so I'm gonna leave that alone as well. And ma'am, in the back?
It's about 40 years ago, it's a long time ago, in Louisville.
Wow, okay, what kind of case was it?
It was a wreck,
Car wreck?
kind of, with insurance.
Okay, okay. And were you the foreperson?
No.
No, okay. And did that experience make you never, want to be on a jury again besides? Okay, I appreciate you. And again, I appreciate you all being honest. And I'm just gonna ask, I use a term a lot in jury selection called brutal honesty, okay? So, what's brutal honesty mean to you, sir, when I say that?
The truth, whether you want to hear it or not.
Exactly, right? And that's what we're looking for, okay? We're looking for brutal honesty from you all, because it's important, for both sides, not just for me. Brutal honesty, okay? It's important. Be straight, how'd you put it? I really like that.
Truth, whether you want to hear it or not.
Truth, whether you want to hear it or not. I like that a lot. Thank you, sir. So I'm gonna ask you some questions today that are going to potentially bring up points of friction. I know they do in my family, and everyone has their own opinion. It doesn't make it wrong, okay? It may have you may have certain things that create friction in your life, whether it be, whatever it be. I'm gonna give you all an example, okay? So I like, I like chocolate chip cookies a lot, all right? And so if I say I was at the fair, and they were like, hey man, I need you to come judge this cookie contest, and there was oatmeal raisin and chocolate chip, I don't like oatmeal raisin, but I really like chocolate chip, all right? Now, who here thinks, these competitors that did it, who thinks that I should say, hey, I really like chocolate chip? If all things are even, I'm gonna go that way. Who thinks, does everyone agree I should say, hey, contestants, I know you all worked hard on that. Does everyone agree with that? Does that make me a bad person to say, hey, does that make me a bad person? Does it make me weak-minded? Okay, I'm just trying to, because it's important, all right? And despite my best efforts to put it aside, you all agree that I should tell them, right? Do we agree? Yeah, everybody nodding? Okay. And again, I'd be much better at judging chili because I like all the chili. So, all right. So this, obviously, this case is not a cookie contest. It'd be a lot more fun if it was. And also, if there's something private that comes up that you don't want to say in front of all of your friends that you just met, you can say, hey, I'd rather approach and speak to you all and the judge, okay? Just so you all understand, public speaking can be difficult. So there are certain things you may not want to talk about, but just let us know, okay? All right, appreciate it. All right, so what I want to ask now is, I'm going to ask each one of you to think about this. So this is a personal injury case, okay? It is a dangerous premises case. But some people have feelings just generally about personal injury cases. My best friend, not a fan. We're still best friends, but he's not a huge fan. So what I want to ask is, if you have any feelings towards them, I'm going to ask you to kind of grade that on a 1 to 10. So a 10 would be I strongly oppose personal injury lawsuits. A 10 is strongly opposed. 0 is I have no feelings whatsoever. Does everybody understand? All right, so sir, what about you? 2. 2? Okay, what about you? 0? Okay, what about you, sir? 3? Okay, what about you? 7? Okay, we'll come back and talk to you. 0? 0? 0? 0? 0? Okay.
3.
3? Okay. 5. All right.
0.
Probably 5.
5.
Depends on the circumstances.
Okay. And sir in the corner? 0. Ma'am in the back right corner? 3? Okay. And Miss Parker? 0. And Miss Basham?
0.
Okay. And Mr. Bateman?
5.
5. And Mr. Behringer?
Fair.
Okay. What about you?
0.
And Miss Burks? 4. Okay. And Miss Cutler. How do you say your name? Coulter. I'm sorry. 5. Okay. All right. So I believe you said 7, right, ma'am? Okay. Why do you say 7? Tell me about that.
I say 7 because I've known people that have had personal injury. I've never gone to court for it, but I was, it doesn't always come out equal.
Okay. What do you mean by equal?
The person who's injured, person that got hurt, usually.
Ma'am, can you hold on 1 second so I can hear you? Can you give her the lavalier mic? You're doing fine. I
Yeah.
can't hear real
It's a
well.
big courtroom.
So if I can't hear, I know some other
When I
people.
speak very loud.
You're okay.
We've got wireless mics, that way we can pass around, make sure we can hear. All right, ma'am. You're good.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, but I know everybody else probably doesn't. So go ahead.
My prejudice is, that the person that gets injured doesn't usually get the representation that they deserve. And
Okay.
I don't want to bash anybody.
Oh, no, that's fine. Listen, no one's ever excited to call me, okay? So, it's fine. I'm a lawyer. I understand that. So, I believe though what you're saying, and again, I may say something to clarify something, but I'm not trying to put words in anyone's mouth. So if I say anything wrong, please say, no, Justin, that's not what I said, okay? I don't want to do that. Okay, so I think what I was asking is if you're opposed to them, I guess you're just, I don't exactly understand what you're, so are you just saying that overall, people that are get hurt don't get everything, or what is, or you said don't get the representation, I'm trying to understand that.
A lot of cases, sorry.
You're fine. No, you're okay. Don't worry about it.
I'm not used, 'cause it's the
No, okay,
first time
listen,
I've
I'm
ever
not,
done this.
you're okay. I'm gonna leave you, you're fine. I'll stop. I'm sorry. We'll come back to you, think about it, okay? Is that okay? Is that fair? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so I believe, who said 5 in the front row? 6. I don't think anyone did. Who said 5 in the second row? Okay, so, sir, what's your name? Matthew Irvin. Okay, can you tell me about that?
I said it depends on the circumstances. I know you can't give me that information right now, but I need more information about the person injured and the facts, which would be the different case, I'm sure.
I'd be a bad lawyer if you didn't. I mean, you said 5 that you're opposed, so you just generally, I'm just trying to make sure that people don't, we were talking about the cookie, some people just don't feel comfortable doing a personal injury case, okay? Or they just don't, they see billboards and they're like, ugh. Is that how you're opposed to it, or you just want to see more facts?
I'm middle of the road. I mean, I deal with, in my line of work, I deal with all walks of life, and I have to hear both sides of the story regardless, so I'm just saying I'm middle of the road. I was like, need more facts and circumstances.
Okay, that's fine.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. That's a perfectly reasonable response, sir. Not any response, basically reasonable, okay? Yes, ma'am.
I'm the same way with him. It depends on the circumstances and what happened. So I would need more information.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I won't be able to give you a little bit, but I'm just going to try to get through this process a little bit. I'm just trying to make sure, again, some people feel very strongly against it, okay? And in the back, I think Mr. Bateman, you said 5.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
tell me about that?
Kind of what these are saying, it was just the first number that hit my head. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. Would need to hear evidence and which way I would.
No, that's fine. Just trying to get a feel for it, okay? And then Ms. Burks, I think said you were a 4. Can you tell me about that?
I'm just like they are to hear the circumstances.
Okay.
And, because there are cases where it's needed and then some maybe not, I don't know.
Okay.
Just based on the facts.
What cases would you say that it isn't needed?
I'm really not that involved with just watching TV. You know, you have somebody that fakes it, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Not a wreck or a construction injury or something.
I understand that, okay? And that's what I'm getting at. So, I just want to make sure that we get that information. So I appreciate you saying that, okay? And then I believe, Mackenzie, you were a 5, so I'm trying to stay away from your last name. I don't know why. I can't. I wrote it down wrong, and it's going to mess me up. Anyway, why did you say a 5?
So, in the industry that I work in, I deal a lot with people's cases. Not in the legal system, but I deal with their cases on like more counseling level, I guess you could say. So, I know people abuse that option. They abuse the resources that they have available. Sometimes they not for people. But I'm very broad with it. Like I'm one who wants to hear everything, and I'm not going to make a decision.
Okay, what line of work do you do?
So I work in addiction recovery.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go through a short list of witnesses you all may hear. The point of doing this is to make sure that you all don't, that you all don't necessarily, that you all don't know, or if you do know, one way or another, any witnesses that may be called in this case. Okay, so there's no, these will be called, it says may be called, just to go through it, okay? Obviously, we already went through Sherry Legrand. Her husband's name is Jerry Legrand. Does anybody know Jerry? Jerry Legrand, oh, sorry, you all can answer that. Sorry. Jerry Legrand. No? Okay. Does anyone know a Miss Susan Rayleigh? Does anybody know her? Have any connection to her? Okay. A lady named Jessica Hicks, maybe a witness. Does anybody know her? Okay. A lady named Catherine Costigan, maybe a witness. Does anybody know her? Know that name? And anybody in the audience, if you hear these names, please try to remember when if we lose someone that you all come up and say this. Okay, sorry, I'll still have the list and we can go through it again, but no big deal. Does anyone know Mr. Hamlet that's at the defense counsel table? He's in the middle next to Jeremy. Okay. And does anybody know Jeremy, who's the defense counsel, or his assistant? Yeah, so you can see. Sorry, there's podiums or if you can't do them. All right. Somebody knows them? Good. And again, in the crowd, if you do, you come up, please say, hey, I know these folks. Does anyone know a Dr. Joseph Green? He's now at Louisville Hip Knee Institute. Anybody know him? Okay. And does anyone know a Dr. Ellen Ballard? And again, in the crowd, if you all, I can go through the names again if you all get pulled up here. Okay, so like we talked about, this is a civil case. It's not a criminal case. So there's some distinct differences. The first major one is that we have to show what's more likely than not. Okay, the criminal standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. This is more likely than not. Okay, so some people think, and again, this is a civil case, so we are going to be asking for money. Okay, and some people think, well, you're going to need more than likely than not in order for me to give you money. Okay, does that make sense? Now, does anyone here have any feelings that way that you're going to need more likely than not? I know it's a hard question. Basically, it's balancing. So when you evaluate the evidence, it's not necessarily black and white. It's gray, and then you can balance 51%. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Okay? So it's not criminal, this is civil. Now, if this applies to damages as well. So when I say applies to damages, I mean the injuries and everything that goes with that. It's what's more likely than not happen. Does everyone understand that standard? Can they apply? Okay. That's an important distinction. Okay, so this case is a dangerous premises case that happened at McDonald's on Nashville Road. It's at Campbell Lane. It's where the Mancino's and Kroger is. Does everybody know that location or decently well? Okay, everybody's nodding. Good. Has anybody been to that McDonald's? Okay. Who has? Raise your hand. Sorry. All right. So, all right. Cool. I'm not gonna. Well, we'll start. I'll just. All right. So everybody knows where we're at, right? That's where it's at. Does anybody not know where that's at?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, that's fair. I mean, that's where I told you it was. But it's over. Kind of like there's a Kroger and there's I think a new Chick-fil-A over there and it's right on Nashville Road in Campbell, but it is McDonald's. So just so you're somewhat oriented. Okay, so I just want to check. Does anyone know any of the employees there? like on a first name basis? You do? Okay, tell me about that, sir.
It's been a year or two, but I interviewed a witness that was employed at Patrick Ray. I don't know if it still works there or not.
You interviewed a who?
A witness for a case that I had, Patrick Ray was his name.
Okay. Okay, so you interviewed him.
I also spoke with the manager and obtained surveillance video as well.
Okay, what do you do?
Police officer.
You're a police officer. Okay, so you're investigating things, so you just went over there for a case and you investigated and interviewed some of their people. Is that fair? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else know any of the employees over there? On a first name basis? Okay. Do any of the employees know your order by heart? Might be a better way to. Okay, just checking. What about the owners? Does anybody know the owners of that location? I think it's connected to the Burrell family. Does anybody know the Burrells? Or who they are? Okay. All right, so has anyone had a family or friend who's fallen and gotten hurt on someone else's property? Does anybody know someone that's ever happened to them? Yeah, you? Okay, we get it. Can we get the microphone? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, where I live at, out Grove Senior Apartments. Twice there was somebody, a lady fell, tripped over, the curb and hit her head onto the wall. And, she was injured. She was visiting a friend that I know there.
Okay. Anybody else that you know that's fallen?
One of the residents.
Okay. Do you know if they made a claim or anything?
I believe the one that we did.
Okay.
She was, injured severely.
Severely? How bad?
She had broken, her face and broken hip, broken arm, broken ribs.
Okay. So she's hurt.
She was an older woman, but still that was
Yeah.
substantial injuries.
Yeah. And would you have a problem with her making a claim?
Not making a claim
Okay.
because it was visible, that this is real.
Okay.
And there was multiple witnesses.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate that. Does anyone else have a similar story where they know someone that fell? Yes, sir.
I don't know anybody personally, but just thought I'd disclose that review all the falls for our hospital. I'm over fall prevention and review cases and kind of see if it was a fault in our process versus did we fail the process or the process failed our patients.
Okay. So tell me about that a little bit. What process did you go through to decide if they failed or the other person failed?
Interview all parties involved, and then usually we do an internal review, any kind of video or testimony that we hear from.
Okay. Do you all have specific procedures you all follow in order to prevent falls?
Yes.
Okay. And do you train your people to follow that?
Yes.
Why do you do that?
Because when you're president, our goal is to cause no harm. So we want to prevent that. Even when you're incapable of making that decision yourself, we want to keep you safe.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so the reason I'm asking is, again, it's a dangerous in this case. So some people feel, and again, I'm asking about fault. Some people feel that if someone falls somewhere and gets hurt, it's their own fault and the business is not responsible. Okay, and that's fine. Again, this is brutal honesty. Now, there are other people that feel that if someone falls because someone didn't do their job or created a dangerous situation, that the person should be able to bring a claim against the location. Okay, so the first camp's like, hey, you go somewhere, you fall down, watch where you're walking, it's your fault. The second camp's more, you know, I'd like to see the evidence, maybe they didn't do everything they were supposed to do. Who here is leaning towards that first camp? Brutal honesty. Go ahead. You are?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
I mean, it depends. If it's like water on the ground, if it's like a curb, you know, it all depends.
I understand. So, I understand it depends, but do you, generally speaking, do you lean towards someone falls down and it's more their fault?
Like just out of
Yeah,
air?
just generally speaking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so without hearing any other facts and having that, back up. So without having any other facts and despite your best efforts to put that aside, if our client was walking and she was in the premises and she fell down, would we be just slightly behind without knowing anything else in your mind?
Just out of thin air. Just fell out of thin air.
What do you mean?
Just fell out of thin air. Like not any.
No other
hazardous
facts
material.
besides they were on a business, they were there, they fell. Would our client start from behind since you feel that, you know, you just said if you fall down, it's your fault?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Who else agrees with Morgan? Okay, hold on, one at a time. Okay, sorry, let me get the other hands. Who are the other hands? So I don't forget this back. Okay, so we'll go this way. Sir, what's your name? Mr. Rigdon. Mr. Higdon? Rigdon. Sorry, it's okay. I write these really fast. Okay, so is it like Morgan? Do you agree with what Morgan said?
If there's not any outside parameters and somebody just happens to fall on the premises, then that is of their own volition, their fault. Yeah.
Okay. So, again, like Morgan said, if not looking at other facts, but someone just went somewhere and they fell down, and would our client be starting a little bit behind? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and Mr. Rhodes, do you feel the same way as Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, I think if there's no facts, so there's no, if she fell out of thin air, if I understood the question right, she fell out of thin air, yeah, I mean, I would just definitely lean towards.
That's fine. So there obviously are other facts, so I'm not trying to mislead you all.
Sure.
But what we're trying to get at is, you know, we're trying to be even Steven from the beginning, right? And that's fine. So I appreciate your answer.
I just want to make sure.
No, you're good.
Brutally honest.
I like it.
As you should.
Exactly. Follow the instructions. I appreciate that. And so, are you like Mr. Okay. So we'll just go through this next. Let me just ask again so we're clear. So, potentially knowing there are other facts, but just the fact that our client went and fell somewhere, would you be leaning towards saying that it's her fault and you wouldn't be able to?
No, I mean, I answered the first question as a zero. I'm going to hear the whole facts.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I believe it was you. Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
I don't know if you want to come back to me. I just, as we're talking about this and me thinking, I have fallen doing my own job before, but I never filed for anything.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's.
Okay, let me come back to you. We'll come right back to you. I appreciate the honesty, okay? Who else had their hand up? I believe yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr.
Yes,
I'm just gonna call you Robert, because again, I can't read my own handwriting.
I feel that somebody falls, there's a reason, but most of the time it'll be their fault.
Okay.
And I know I fall because I haven't been late, and I was stutter step, and down we go.
Okay, so just having that and those sets of facts, like Morgan, would you agree that just having that we may start out just a little bit behind in your mind? Just since our client did go somewhere and fall, and it's unusual injury, that's their fault. Saying that they were there. Yes. I was waiting for your, so I didn't want to cut you off. Is that a yes? Or, I'm just asking you if you.
Me?
Yes.
Oh.
I wasn't done. Sorry. I was like, what's happening? Like there's a glitch in the matrix. So,
Sorry.
anyway, go ahead.
I mean, without all the evidence,
Yeah.
they felt it was their fault.
So our client would start on unlevel plane, wouldn't?
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
start, okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay. Anyone else raise their, okay, anybody else raise their hand in that question? Okay. We talked, go ahead. Sorry.
Depending on the circumstances, just with what you said, I would say it was their fault.
Okay. So, without any other evidence, and again, I want to make sure the prompt is clear. Without any other evidence, if someone goes in and falls, you're leaning towards the camp that says, you know, if you go somewhere and you fall down, it's your fault. Do you lean that way?
Yeah.
Okay. And would it be fair to say then that if our client did go in and fall down, that we would be starting out a little bit behind in your mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Is that a yes? Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, Ms. Lennox?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you said, remind me what you said.
I was just saying that, as we're talking about this, I have fallen myself doing my job, so, I never filed for anything. I don't know if that's something that you.
No, I appreciate your, again, brutal honesty. I appreciate that, okay? And, what was the circumstances of your fall?
It was weather conditions, it was snowing outside,
Snowing,
so.
okay. This isn't a snow and ice case, so I don't, yeah. I appreciate your honesty, though. I won't go any further with that, okay? All right. Just have one moment, Judge.
Sure.
Yes. May we approach, Your Honor?
Please.
Under boardway, we moved to strike John Hidden.
Reverend Gilbert. She said she was leaning towards someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Start from behind.
More,
Morgan Gilbert, number 8, Judge.
okay.
And I assume you're gonna go through and strike all the ones that, okay.
I'm gonna do topics, then strike, and then refill, and then
Sure.
do the topic, and then
Okay.
hopefully we'll get done with each topic. I don't
Okay.
have that many, so this is, you know, obviously not many. Mr. Beerbauer, Mr. in spot 5, Judge. We moved to strike him based on the same.
Bear Bauer.
Bear, yeah. He stated we'd be behind if someone, again, we'd be starting out from another playing field. Okay. Mr. Legrand in spot 21, we moved to strike him as well.
Okay.
He said, that again, for the record, he said we'd be starting behind on the level playing field based on the. So,
You didn't mention it, okay.
oh, oh, yeah, and then you also moved to strike the lady in spot 18, Denise Ortez, for the same, starting from behind.
What's the number?
18, Judge.
Last name?
Ortez, or Cortez, I couldn't hear it when they.
I think it's Cortez.
Is it Cortez?
Or.
Ortez,
Yeah.
okay.
That's everyone for that set of questions.
Okay.
And Judge, of course, we're opposing because the hypothetical is that if the only fact was they fell out of thin air.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna deny your motion to strike on those four. I believe, it does not meet that level with them stating, again, the hypothetically gave it was out of thin air, would they be behind? Well, I think the question is, in the case is going to be whether intervening factors have caused the fall. So I think at this point, just a hypothetical, are you from behind, does not qualify for them to be struck.
I mean, Mr. Barringer clearly said that if you walk in somewhere and you fall down, it's your fault, without anything else. He should absolutely be struck, because because if he can't even let me, because he clearly is like, we have to start.
I think you said as if in thin air, if you just fall with no other factor, then it is your fault.
That was his answer following the hypothetical.
Right. He was following your hypothetical.
Just by knowing somebody falls, that they're automatically assuming that we're starting from behind.
But that was your hypothetical that put them in that situation.
I understand, but we have to be able to know from the very beginning that they won't hold someone just because they'll fall down somewhere, that it's just they're starting from behind, even slightly, and that's what the case law says.
I'm going to deny your motion strike this time.
Thank you, Judge.
You turn the white noise off, please.
All right. Appreciate you all waiting on us, which I did a little legal jibber-jabber. Okay, so let me ask you all a question. Can you, sir, do you think someone can be careful and still get hurt? Okay. And let me ask you, if, let's say, let's say someone was being careful in a business to not do everything it was supposed to do according to its standards, and that person got hurt. Is it the person's fault? Yeah, it's a long question. So let's say someone was careful in a business to not do everything it is supposed to do according to its standards, and then that person gets hurt. Is it that person's fault? Okay. Do you think it's that person's fault? Do you think it's that person's fault? Do you? Okay. Do you? Sorry to go back. I haven't talked to you yet. How you doing?
Great.
You doing good? That's good. Just chilling? That's good. I'll come back to you. We'll talk a little, hopefully. Anyway, you?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, of course. So if someone, let's say somebody was being careful in business, not do everything it's supposed to do according to its standards, and the person gets hurt, is it the person's fault?
There again, I'd have to know the insinuating circumstances.
Okay. I appreciate that. Ms. Lennox?
And you said that if they did everything they were supposed to do?
If they didn't do it, if the person
they
was
did
careful,
everything.
and then they didn't do everything they were supposed to do, was it that person's fault that fell?
Depending on other factors to consider, I would say no.
Okay. Sir? Sir in the middle?
Or I'd say depending on the factors, not necessarily.
Okay. What factors?
Do they have a known ailment they put themselves at risk unnecessarily?
How would they put themselves at risk unnecessarily?
Say if they knew that they were struggling to walk, or they had some kind of a walker and they're already struggling, did the factors of the business standard contribute immediately to that fall?
Okay. And then Ms. Gilpin?
I think this is where I need to be brutally honest.
Yes.
And disclose that I'm a legal nurse consultant.
Okay.
And so I would have to also know all the factors. It is my job to look at the standards in cases.
Okay.
And I would will be asked to write a merit screening for cases that involve falls, some cases malpractice, negligence. Like Dustin said, I have to look at all the standards that have made them not followed. And so I'm to know all the facts on both sides.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, and you said you do, so are you someone they send case information to and then you write up a report for them?
Correct. I do a merit screening and chronology and sometimes act as an expert witness for my opinion.
Okay. Do you do more plaintiff or defense work? Or you?
Both.
You do both. Okay. Is it 50-50, 70-30, or?
Probably more plaintiff.
More plaintiff?
Yes.
Thank you for that information. So, sorry, I jumped around. So the prompt again is, let's say someone was careful in a business to not do everything it's supposed to do according to its standards, and then that person gets hurt. Is it that person's fault? No? Okay. What about you? What do you think? Yes. Sorry, can't hear you.
I think it just depends.
Depends on what? Okay. And Ms. Barker? No? Ma'am?
I would need you to define careful.
But that's the fun part, isn't it? I don't think I can do that for you. So I think that would be, the judge would get mad at me. So we're not going to do that. But but nonetheless, let's just say, well, let me ask you, what's your definition of careful?
It's subjective. It's going to be, would it be careful for person A, person B, knowing all the factors? Or is that their standard of living?
Okay. Sir?
It just depends on where I've been a manager before.
Okay.
And it just depends on, did they continue, is this an ongoing thing that they didn't do their process right according to the regulations? It could go either way, but it has to be proven that they did abuse the system and was being careful.
What do you mean abuse the system?
Well, I mean, okay, a lot of times people will try to shortcut and they'll go around a written procedure to get to the end result and you get hurt. You have to look at, see how abusive it is.
Okay.
And it's been brought up before.
No, that's fine. Just so we're clear, there are no employees named in this case, okay? So we're,
I understand.
okay. I'm just trying to make sure everybody understands, okay? Ma'am in the back left? No? What about you?
I would say genuinely no, but I also like seeing them cycle.
That's fair. No, I understand that. Did anyone here have to reschedule, let me ask you this. Who here is taking care or knows someone's taking care of their spouse while they're sick? Know someone that did that? Okay. I'm gonna talk to you, sir. We're gonna talk to Tom. Can you just tell me about that?
Currently, my mom's taking care of my stepdad. We got a knee replacement surgery.
Okay. And is he doing okay? Yeah. And as far as, so who's taking care of who? I'm sorry.
My mother's taking care of my stepfather.
And he had knee replacement surgery? Okay. And then what, and do you think that your mother, let me back up. Would you hold it against your mother if she had to reschedule medical appointments because she has to take care of your father? Okay. Would anyone else hold it against someone if they had to reschedule something because they didn't take care of their spouse? Has anyone had a doctor, know someone who had a doctor that changed practices? They changed and moved practices? If not, it's fine. You do? You do? Okay, can you tell me about, just generally doctors move practices, is that?
Yeah, I've worked in the field for 23 years and they change practices.
Yeah. And then, okay, so, and would you hold it against someone if it took them a minute to find their doctor if they left a practice and went to another one? No. Would anyone else hold that against somebody? Okay, so I'm going to add a fact to this. So let's say, in this case, that our client, she walked past a wet floor sign, okay? But only hearing that fact and not knowing potentially, well, knowing that fact, but also knowing that maybe there were policies and procedures in place that could have prevented some things. Who hears that and leans towards, if there's a wet floor sign down, it's your fault, it's our fault. Okay, so I'm gonna start with you, ma'am.
If it says wet floor, you should mark on the careful with the law.
Okay. So, Ms. McNulty, is it fair to say that if that scenario was there, that you're saying even if there are even if there are standards in place that maybe weren't followed, if our client just walked by a wet floor sign, that we would be starting out behind anyway?
Well, what procedures, I mean, I don't understand.
I know, I can't get into the specifics, I'm sorry, but just knowing that scenario.
It would depend on what procedure it is.
Okay. Okay, and what about you, sir?
Yeah, I think if you see a wet floor sign, in my opinion, it's kind of on you if you walk through it and fall down.
Even if there's other procedures that weren't followed? Okay, even if there were other things, other factors, you wouldn't be able to define for somebody in that situation?
The floor sign was there, in my mind, that's.
Is that a yes? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
And you're Mr. Montgomery, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so who here agrees with Mr. Montgomery? Okay, Morgan, okay, so hold on, we'll do one at a time. That's like, so everybody kind of, that's the, like turtle alarm, T-Rex, when they put their hand up. So, if you would, just raise them up for me, so I
Can we repeat what he said back?
Yeah, I'm going to,
Okay.
so.
Repeat the main question.
I'm going to. I got you. So I'm gonna go to you. And I think the main question is, if my client walked past a wet floor sign, even knowing there are other policies and procedures that could be in place that may have prevented it, just knowing she walked by a wet floor sign, would we start from behind?
If the fall was a result of the wet floor and nothing but the wet floor.
Okay. So, if
If there's a wet floor sign and she fell because of a wet floor.
Okay.
But if there are other factors, that would change.
okay, thank you for that. And again, I'm going back to Mr. Montgomery, what he said. Who else? I think, Morgan, go ahead.
I agree with the exact same thing.
You agree with the exact same thing Mr. Montgomery said, so that if there's a wet floor sign, someone walks by it, even if there's standards, policies, procedures in place, knowing that, you wouldn't consider that, you're only, if they walk past a wet floor sign, not going to fine for them. Is that what you're saying? Okay. All right, now who here agrees with Mr. Montgomery and Ms.? Anybody else? I think there may have been some other hands. Okay, Ms. Cortez? Ortiz? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You see, just knowing that there's a wet floor sign, that's your sign. Slow down, or even with not knowing the other procedures, just seeing that sign would say caution at the very least.
Okay, so knowing, even knowing that there are other policies and procedures that could be in place to prevent that, you still wouldn't be able to find someone that walk by a wet floor sign? So knowing that there may be other policies and procedures in place, would you be able to, and then walk by a wet floor sign, you would just say, I'm not gonna be able to find it?
Basically.
Is that a yes? Thank you. All right, who else agrees with Ms. Ortiz, Mr. Montgomery, and Ms. Gilbert? I think there were some other hands, maybe? Okay. Maybe approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Oh, sorry, Jim. Sorry, buddy.
Have to crowd in.
I know. Yeah. We would move to strike Ms. Gilbert based on the fact that I gave the scenario that's basically the exact case, and she said that under no circumstance could she fine for our client.
And that's me.
Number 8. And then I make the same motion for 17, Mr. Montgomery, and for 18, Ms. Ortiz. And number 1, really?
Yeah,
Maybe
she
Faber.
agreed with
Okay. A number
Number
one.
eight,
is
like number 18
Sorry,
is what
8,
the T's.
8, 17, 18, and 1.
Which one's one?
Top right corner, Miss Abrams. I didn't really.
I didn't get that response from Warren.
It's fine, Judge. I think I'll go back. It's fine.
If you need, yeah, you're gonna have to get that articulated.
Okay.
Any response?
Sure, yeah. I've got to have a chance to attempt to rehabilitate him and see if there's some way that they could answer that differently, because he's not giving me every fact of the case. Of course, he can't do that. Just because they're favorable toward a wet floor sign does not mean, I'm sorry, just hear me, yeah. Just because they're favorable toward a wet floor sign, even with policies that could be later explained to them, of course, we're not explaining the policies to them at this point, so they need to have the chance to at least hear a different form of that question before we get anywhere near striking them.
The case law is crystal clear.
Yeah, I'm gonna strike 8, 17, 18. The reason I am, when Mr. Montgomery kind of clarified it, there were, when he initially answered the question, it looked like there was gonna be about 8 or 9 different hands. And then Mr. Montgomery kind of clarified it. And stated, well, if you've only got this factor, then no matter what, he wouldn't be able to find that way. So,
Okay, I understand that one. But if,
and
there were
then
others
after
who had,
Montgomery Gilbert Ortiz said, yeah, we agree 100% with him, then everybody else kind of waned off.
there were others who had trouble hearing it, so I wonder if Gilbert and Ortiz may have had trouble hearing it as well.
I can't assume that, so I'm gonna strike those for now.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, we go back to the record. All right, I'm gonna excuse Ms. Ortiz. Yes, ma'am, you, right there. Thank you for your service today. We're not gonna need you on the rest of this trial. If you will call back in, the next trial is scheduled for the 11th, so you'll call back in on the 10th. Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Montgomery, you're also excused. And the third one was, I believe, Ms. Gilbert, you're excused. And again, please call back in on the, after 4:30 on the 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. We can draw 3 around.
Baron Hogan. Maxie Napier. And Riley Thompson.
She's no longer.
Judy Smith.
All right, for our 3 new jurors, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Napier, Ms. Smith, were you able to hear all the questions that the attorney had asked the panel?
No, sir, I was not.
You were not able to, okay. I'm gonna have him go back over them with you then.
Okay. It's fine, happens all the time. So we'll do it a bridge version, okay? First of all, brutal honesty, just be brutally honest. I talked about that at the beginning, okay? Can you do that for us? Can the new folks do that for us? Mr. Napier, correct, and Ms. Smith, and Mr. Hogan, correct? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna ask each three, so Ms. Hall, so there are a lot of people that have feelings one way or another against personal injury lawsuits. You know, they think they're, you know, for whatever reason, they just don't like them, okay? And so I'm gonna ask you on a 1 to 10 scale, and I'm gonna do this for both of you, so just pay, just try to pay attention to the question a little bit. On a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being I'm extremely opposed to them, and 1 being I have no feelings one way or another, where would you be on that scale? A 1? Okay, ready for that? What was it? 5? Okay. Why a 5, Mr. Hogan?
I guess my feeling is that in not all cases, but in some that there's certainly abuse.
Okay, can you speak? I'm sorry, because we got to make sure we're on the record. I'm not trying to, you know, it's fine. So you would be worried about abuse of the system. Is that fair?
I think it happens.
Okay, that's fair. And in those scenarios, what people are like, what would you be looking for if someone was abusing the system?
I mean, it would really depend on the circumstance.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure to figure out where you're at, okay? Again, we just met, so I'm trying to kind of talk to most folks so far. Okay, and then we talked about a little bit of, this is just going to refresh everybody. We talked about, we're in a civil case, this isn't a criminal case, okay? So a criminal case has a very high standard, and then a civil case has a more likely than not standard. So it's 51%. So you balance both sides like the legal scale, okay? And that's how you evaluate the case. You don't say, you know, it doesn't have to be all the way one way. It's 51% either way, okay? The question is, do you understand the standard, Ms. Smith? Okay, can you follow that? Okay, Mr. Napier, can you follow that standard? Mr. Hogan? Okay, that's important, all right. Okay. And this McDonald's is on Nashville Road and Campbell Lane, over by Mancino's and Kroger. Do you know anybody that works there? Does any of them know your order by heart? Okay, what about you, Mr.
My dad or maybe, my brother-in-law did work there, I don't know if he quit or what.
Oh, okay, so your brother-in-law worked there for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, did he like it?
He was the maintenance man for several years.
Okay, sounds good. And you know anybody else that worked over there? Okay, sounds good, thanks, man. You don't know anybody? Don't know anyone that owns it? No idea who those folks are? Okay. Sorry for everyone else on the panel, but just kind of. If someone fell down on a premise, if someone went somewhere and fell down, let me ask you this. If a friend or family member of yours went and fell down somewhere and got hurt, would you hold it against them if they made a claim?
I think it would depend on what caused them to fall.
Okay, so just out of the gate though, it's a friend or family member, remember, that's the prompt. So a friend or family that you know, would you hold it against them? No. Okay, what about you? No? What about you, sir? No? Okay. And then I asked if any of you know anyone that's taken care, had a spouse take care, similar to Mr. Hicks, right? Similar to Mr. Hicks, where his mom's taking care of his dad with knee replacement. Would anyone hold that against someone if they had to do that in missed medical appointments? Would you hold that against somebody? Would you? What about you? Okay. That's the abridged version. So now I'm going to ask you a similar prompt to what we were doing earlier, okay? So if there was a wet floor sign, but there were also policies and procedures in place to prevent certain things from happening, just knowing there was a wet floor sign and someone walked past it, would you lean towards not, would you be able to still award, or still be able to fine for the person who walked past the wet floor sign, even though there were standards in place? What did you say?
No,
What do you mean by no?
I wouldn't think they were guilty. Had they seen the sign, then I think they should have been more careful.
Okay. What if they were, okay, so, if they, let me back up. So you would not be able to fine for them if they saw the sign?
I would not be able to.
You wouldn't be able to fine for them if they saw the sign? Even if there's policies and procedures in place that may or may not have been followed?
I would have to think about it.
Okay. So when you have to think about it, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that maybe they should have been more careful. They should have, maybe they didn't see the sign.
Okay. Thanks for your honesty. Okay. Mr. Napier?
Not really.
What do you mean?
I mean, like she said, if you saw the sign, you walk by, it's different, but if you didn't see it, it's different too.
Okay. So if someone did walk by a sign, did see it, and then there were policies in place that the store had that said may or may not have followed, just by them walking by the sign, would you still be able to fine for them or not?
No, because they had the opportunity to stop at the floor drive, they went in or wait.
Okay, well, scenario isn't that. So let's just say they walked in. There's a wet floor sign with policies and procedures in place. Just having the wet floor sign there, would you not be able to consider policies and procedures? We would just say, hey, they walk by a wet floor sign, I can't fine them for that person.
No.
You'd be able to look at the whole picture? Okay. Mr. Hogan, what about you?
If the fall was due to wet floors and they saw the sign, it would be hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be difficult to convince me probably that they were, the person who fell wasn't somewhat at fault.
Okay. And so if that's the case, would our client, potentially, if that is the case, would our client start on an unlevel playing field in your mind? We'd start a little bit behind.
That's probably fair to say.
Okay.
Honestly, brutal honesty.
Brutal, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, does anyone agree with Mr. Hogan? I think I saw you nodding your head a little bit. You were just kind of nodding along. Okay, I'm just checking. Just trying to make sure. Okay. Does anyone else agree with Mr. Hogan? Okay. Okay, so, sorry, 1 second, I'm just gonna make some notes here. Okay, so, we play that front with you all. We are asking for money, this is a civil case. Okay, some people feel that, they don't like that. But in civil trial, and again, no one's losing their job, no one's losing their license, no one's losing any of that stuff, all right? We're asking for compensation for Sherry's injuries in this case. And there are categories, okay? So the first category is medical bills, all right? Now, this includes surgeries, knee replacement, and other injuries she suffered. She has approximately $132,000 in medical bills. Now, is there anyone that thinks that even with the evidence showing it was related, that I could not include money for medical expenses no matter what? It's a weird question. Let me ask it again. You gave me like this. What did he ask me? Did he ask me if red and green make yellow? No. Okay, we're good. Is there anyone that thinks that even with evidence showing it was related, that I could not include money for medical expenses no matter what? Essentially, you could not award medical expenses. Asking another way, if you found that McDonald's was responsible or even partially responsible for Sherry's injuries, that it would be fair to would it be fair to include all the medical expenses for those injuries? Does everyone agree with that? There's no one that says, I don't know. If you're on the jury, we're gonna be asking for it, okay? And I think you're comfortable with that. All right. Same question for future medical bills, okay? So we're claiming approximately $75,000 for a future surgery this year, may or may not need, okay? Is there anyone that thinks that they can't award those damages? Just can't do it. Okay. And asking another way, if you found that McDonald's was responsible or even partially responsible for Sherry's injuries, that it would be fair to include all the future medical expenses for those injuries. Is everyone, it's fair? Okay, so we're gonna also ask for what's called pain and suffering. Okay, everybody's heard that term, most people have heard that term. And some people think that, you know, whenever you're asking for pain and suffering, that money can't really replace what was lost. It's not possible. But here in America, we don't have eye for eye justice. You don't go out and hit someone because they hit you. We have a civil justice system. Okay? And whenever something is taken off the scale, like an injury, something in your life is taken away, it has to be balanced on the other side of the scale with money. That's how the process works. Some people, it's not for them. Okay? They just are saying, there's not, you know, I can't do that. Pain and suffering, I just can't do it. Is there anybody that feels that way? Brutal honesty. Anyone. Usually there's some. Okay? All right. Okay, who here, if the evidence showed it, would be okay awarding nothing for pain and suffering? The evidence showed it, right? Is that fair? Does everyone agree with that prompt? If it showed, if you all thought, she didn't suffer at all, you'd be okay awarding nothing. Would you agree with that? Okay, so now who here has now if the evidence showed, who here if the evidence showed it would be okay or not be okay? Who here if the evidence showed it would not be okay with awarding $1 million? It's a big number. I know. Go ahead, sir.
In this society today, it's not.
Okay, what'd you say?
$1 million.
Yeah.
It's not that much.
What do you mean by that?
With our economy
Yeah.
and the price of stuff. I mean,
Okay.
$1 million wasn't very far.
Okay, that's fair. Well, frankly, $1 million is still a lot of money to me. So, you know, and I just want to make sure people are comfortable with that number. Yes, ma'am.
I would say it depends on what exactly, they're being compensated for, or what exactly happened.
I understand, and I can't get into all that.
Right.
But I'm just trying to make sure if the evidence showed it, you would be comfortable with that number.
If it's a reasonable number.
Yeah. And again, at the end of the day, this is up to you all. Whoever the 14 lucky people out of this group ends up in the juror box, it'll be up to you. Just because we ask for it, it's up to you. It's your own personal experience, what it means. What it means to have something taken away. Okay? Now, who here, if the $1 million, you just say that number's too big, I can't do it. Anybody? You're looking, no, Mr. Higley, Rigdon. You're kind of giving me the,
Well, it's a different thing when coming from a corporation as opposed to somebody's personal account. $1 million from a corporation isn't that far-fetched.
Okay. Do you agree with that, sir?
I agree with that. Corporation, they make money every year, more than what I make.
Yeah.